So, the 2025 F1 season. Let's continue that conversation, shall we? Aston Martin is a team that I honestly could see slipping backwards this year. Because they are, in terms of drivers, fighting with one hand tied firmly behind their back as long as they still hail Lance Stroll. There's honestly really very little defending him these days because, well, yeah, he can put in a good performance new and again, it just is that, new and again. It doesn't happen often enough, and look, I've said this before and I'll say it again about Stroll, but half the time he just kind of looks like, to me, he just doesn't really care, if you get what I mean. Unlike Fernando Alonso, who at least Aston have him there, you know, because, I mean, he's what, 43? He's still going pretty freaking good. However, while Alonso still isn't that bad, he's still pretty damn good, especially for his age. I will be a little surprised if they manage to finish 5th in the Constructors again. Yes, I know people will be quick to say, come on, they have Adrian Newey. And that is a very good point. That is very true. They do have Adrian Newey. However, but while the man is very, very good, the most successful designer in F1 history, one, he has just joined the team, slow down, and two, he's not a god. But regardless of having Newey or not, I can't help but feel like they'll be passed. By who? Well, it depends, honestly. First option is Alpine. And first of all, look, Pierre Gasly can and will do whatever he wants with his own hair. It's his choice, his hair, his choice. And so long as he likes it, that's all that matters. But with that being said, this, whatever to Christ he's done with his hair over the winter, ain't it? But a haircut has nothing to do with on-track performances, and honestly, he'll be fine. I don't expect to see much different between Gasly last year to Gasly this year. The main difference being he's now the de facto absolute team leader at Alpine, and he doesn't hate to put up with being teammates to Ocon. Doohan, meanwhile, I really feel sorry for him. He's only done one race. He hasn't even started his first full season, and there's already been talk of him not even finishing the season, being replaced by Franco Colapinto before season's end, by the summer break even, since said Argentine is now with Alpine in a reserve role. Frankly, nothing would surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Doohan gets replaced, but if he does, it would really suck for Jack. If all the word we've heard is true, then Doohan's been backed into a corner, really, that will not be easy to get out of with his seat intact by season's end, because he'll hit to basically perform from the get-go to keep his seat if what we're hearing online is true. And expecting a rookie to perform for the AF? Yeah, that's just unrealistic as hell. Again, if what we're hearing online is true, then Alpine must have seen something in the testing he's done in that first race weekend back in Abu Dhabi that's made them go, oh, okay, yeah, we might actually not have made a good choice here. Next we have Haas, and I'm feeling pretty good about Haas for 2025. New lineup, 2 new drivers, Ocon and Behrman. Can Ocon be a bit up and down? Yeah. And does he have a bit of a habit of ending up on the wrong side of his teammates? Also, yeah, aside from Ricciardo, he never seemed to have any issues with him, but mind you, not many people have issues with Daniel Ricciardo. But Ocon ain't that bad overall. When things are working for him, then he can be a solid midfielder, and he'll be a good pair of hands for Haas to have behind the wheel and alongside Behrman. And I'm pretty confident about Behrman this year. I think he'll do alright. That is gone after the few races last year, if anything is to go by there. He was fairly solid then. Okay, until it started raining in Brazil, but as I've said before, I'm going to give him a free pass on that one, because even some of the experienced guys were struggling. Of course, a lot of my good feeling for Haas this year kind of depends on them continuing the strong midfield form we saw them able to hit towards the end of last season, and I'm confident that they will be able to, because this year's last year the regulation said probably going to be more evolution more than revolution with the cars, but moving on to VCARB, or whatever they're calling themselves these days, my expectations aren't overly high. I kind of help but feel like they'll stay about where they were last year, in that kind of 8th fighting for 7th ballpark. And much like what I said for Gasly, Tsunoda will be fine. I don't expect much to change with him this year. I expect him just continuing to be the Faenza-based team leader that we've seen him become over the last couple of years. Desperately trying to prove to Red Bull that they should give him a shot, but they probably never will. Hadjar, meanwhile, honestly, what can't? Until mid last year, I wouldn't have even thought of him as a prospect for Formula 1 this year, but I really don't king what to think of him, because I will admit I'm not overly familiar with him. I'll admit that. Okay, other than that, he could maybe do again through a bit of what Tsunoda did after he joined the grid, in the way of of calming down a bit on the radio, because in the junior series he was often a bit fiery. I will say I'm not sure if I expect Hadjar to be on the grid next year if Tsunoda stays again and Arvid Lindblad does decently enough in Formula 2, because his name keeps on cropping up, you know, and I think after his recent Formula Regional Oceania Championship win, he has the relevant points required, enough of them, for a super license. Or that's what I've heard. I mean, he does still need to turn 18, which won't happen till August, but... Also, please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks this kid looks like a young Daniel Ricciardo. Williams, or should I say Atlassian Williams Racing, they've got a new title sponsor. But this is one team that could do good things if they have a decent car. But tell you what, I'm intrigued to see what Williams could do this year. They've got a pretty decent lineup with Albon and Sainz, the latter of which has spent the last 4 seasons in Ferrari and has shown himself to be a handy pair of hands to have in your team. Curious to see how Albon does against Sainz, a teammate who can and will be able to challenge him on the regular, unlike 2 of his last 3 teammates. Vitaly has so far had at Williams. Colapinto was really the only one to be able to challenge Albon really in any way. But regardless of how Albon does, if they haven't screwed up the car, I think Williams can move forward in the Constructors this year. And finally, Sauber. New lineup, Hulk and Bortoleto. However, I kind of have the same expectations of this team as I kind of ended up paying for last year, in that I don't expect much. That's nothing against their drivers, but it's just getting off of what we saw for Sauber last year. They did manage to score points, but they still ended up being the team at the back, and I'm not sure I'd see that changing this year. The last year before they become Audi, and I got nothing else on them. So let's end it here. What's your thoughts on the bottom 6 teams' chances this year and how they're looking? Let me get your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.